Alrighty, how's it going, everyone? Drew Tapia here again with midterm number 2 review. Basically, I'm just going to go over a couple questions that are pertaining to our midterm. So we'll just get right into it. Question number 1 is write a declaration, no implementation necessary. For a function called foo that takes an int, call it x, and a double, call it d, as arguments and returns a char. Alright. So, I went ahead and did myself the justice of doing a lot of this beforehand, so it wasn't this big O mess that I had to try to explain while typing. Bad multitasker. um, yeah. Declaration.cpp. Alrighty. So, what it's basically asking for here is a function. Um, no implementation is necessary, so basically you don't need to have body at all, which normally you'd have something within these brackets right here if you wanted to implement it in a certain type of way. But all this is asking for is basically a function called foo that takes an int x and a double d as its argument, and that's basically anytime you have a function and anything inside of these parentheses are going to be your arguments, and returns a char. So it's of type char, so basically if it was, the function was used, it would be returning a char, but you would have to implement that in some sort of way, but the question isn't asking that, so I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next one because I feel like that has plenty of explanation. So, boom. Alright. Alright, so, question number 2. Um, I don't know if this will be on the midterm or not, but I figured I might as well do a couple of them just for good practice. So basically the question was, in the line b equals new bool, what must the type of variable b be? And write the type in the answer space. I don't believe pointers are going to be on the midterm because he didn't mention it, but it's something we have somewhat covered so far. And excuse my dogs, you guys, I'm trying to do video. B equals so in the line b equals new bool, what must the type of variable be? Write the type in the answer space. So basically it's just gonna be bool but with a pointer. So it's kind of hard to explain, honestly, but shh, stop. So, but essentially it's calling to it in a way that's accessing it in its memory in a weird sort of way. I'm not explaining that very well right now. Sorry, my dogs are distracting me. I'm just gonna go on to the next one because, yeah. All right. Question number 3. Explaining why the following swap function does not correctly swap the values of a b in main. Then mention how you could fix the swap function to correctly swap the values. You don't have to write any code. Sentences are fine. Okay. So, this one is nano swap.cpp. You guys, be quiet. Okay. So, basically what we have going on here is you're trying to use a swap function, essentially, which is right here. Void swap and x and y, temporary x. So yeah, you're trying to switch x and y basically. So in the body is int a, or not the body, but the main body. Int a equals 42, b equals 43. So swap a and b. So let's see what. Go ahead and run this as is. Then I'm gonna fix what's wrong. So let's go ahead. Swap. All right. So it didn't swap the numbers. It just gave us 42, 43 in the same order. So the swap function didn't work on A and B. And essentially the quick explanation is that you're trying to use a function with A and B when the function's int x and int y. So basically your argument's wrong, and you need to use call by reference, which I will show you how to use right now. So let's go ahead and do that. Nano swap. We got, alright, so what we're going to go ahead and do here is use this and sign basically, which is call by reference. There it is. And that's going to allow you to access that no matter what is in your main. So it could be, something different than A or B. As long as you change that in here as well to whatever you had up here. But so let's go ahead and try this again. And we need to go ahead and just, there we go. We're gonna go ahead and swap it, and that time it worked correctly. So basically that is the power of call by reference, and that is the answer to that question. So, alright, question number 4. The following plus 5 function is incorrect. It is supposed to always add 5 to a number. Complete the test plus 5 function using the provided assert true function to discover plus 5's error. The test should pass once the function is fixed. Alright. So, let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Nano plus 5.cpp. Nope, that wasn't it. What did I name? Oh, plus. Okay. Plus.cpp. So, let's just take a look at what we got going on here. we got a function at the top with a bool and a string. So bool B, the string is description. So if bool is true, basically, if B is true, C out passed, and the description, which I'm sure we're going to type in down here somewhere. Yep. And else C out failed, description. Okay, so this is a +5 function right here. Take a look at that. And x modulus 5. Okay. So we need to fix here is what it was asked. And basically you have your function here that is just a test case basically. So you can test your functions up here. And so we're going to go ahead and just run the first one that I have right here and see what's going on with this code, because it says write a test that calls the +5 and assert true function basically, which are right here. Assert true, boom, and +5, boom. So the plus, and your test should catch the error in each +5 function fail. So essentially, I went ahead and implemented that right here, and I used assert true to call to my +5 function. I tested it with 1, and it should equal 6, and let's see if that is true or not. So went ahead and we did plus, and it failed. It should have equaled 6 and it didn't. So let's go ahead and make that correct. So essentially what's wrong here in this code is you're calling in this function if the integer, which I put in here is 1, is a modulus of 5 is not equal to 0, it's returning x plus 123, which is obviously kind of a big red flag off the beginning. Oops. But I'm going to go ahead and make that +5, and then else return x plus 5. So yeah, either way, it should be returning by 5 now. And we'll just go ahead and test this now. And we just gotta fix this real quick. Plus, yeah, okay. Okay, and now it passed. So basically, the only thing that was really going on, other than having to make your own test, and I mean, you could obviously add more stuff to this code, but it's not called for in this question. So let's go ahead and just take one more look at it though. So yeah, essentially, the only thing that was wrong compared to this is if it wasn't a modulus of 5, so basically divisible by 5. So you know what? Here, we'll write another one. Well, actually, it doesn't matter because I already fixed the code at this point. But you really don't even need this. You could just have the return x plus 5 and get rid of a lot of this other stuff. But I'll leave it there just for simplicity's sake. Because, yeah, that's just what the question's asking. So, alrighty. go ahead and go on to the next one. Fill in the blanks. So you know what? I ended up not doing this one because I didn't feel like doing that. So, and another pointer one. Yeah, I don't know if I was right on my answer on this, so I'm not gonna share that knowledge with everybody yet. So, let's go ahead and go on to this one right here. All right, so this is the last question. Next, sorry, in this. So, sorry, 1 second. So, basically, the following program contains a circle class that represents a circle. Implement the constructor and circumference method using the comments and main function as a guide. I really wish I could edit this. Oh my gosh. For the constructor, you must use an initializer list to set the radius. Uh, your implementation will appear outside the class declaration underneath the fix me comments. Okay. So, this is about classes and implementing constructors using them. Oh my gosh. So, basically, what you're going to go ahead and do here is I will show you my file right now. You guys, shh. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this over so I could just go ahead and look at the fix me comments. You have a class circle here. It's using public circle with a double R and the circumference, and then the radius is hidden for some reason in private, which is fine. And basically, all it's asking is implement the circle constructor to set the radius using an initializer list. So you're gonna call the circle in this formation. You have to use the double semicolons and then call to whatever you're trying to initialize, basically. And so once you call the circle, you're gonna initialize it in a list by using another semicolon, not semicolon, but colon, basically, and putting in what you're trying to initialize, which is the radius. And after you do that, it asks to implement the circumference method to return the circumference of a circle of the object, and that's the formula. So basically, when you do that, you're going to need to make it a double so it can use a decimal point. And when you call it, you're going to call the class circle again, and then but this time in the circumference, because you're trying to get the circumference of it, which hasn't been set yet, and that's going to be a constant. Basically, you're going to need to set some sort of variable for it, so I just did a double called C, and then so you can return a value and using the return function. So I returned C, and then I just made it equal to the formula that was given times the radius, and basically this part of the code was already given. So yeah, this is just calling to the class and C, which I actually made. So that was actually, it needed to be C. Otherwise, yeah, I had done it with a different variable earlier and it didn't work. So it had to be C because that's the circumference, and then it's set to 42.5, and yeah, then you're just gonna use that, implement it using the constructor right here, the circumference constructor we made, and yeah, it will work. So let me show you how that goes. Oh, you know what? It's already been compiled, so let's go ahead. It should be, what is under circle? Alright, so it says it should print 266.9, and that's exactly what we got right here. So, I think that about wraps up this video. That was a lot of dogs barking, so sorry for no editing, but it's going to take way too long, so yeah. Alrighty, have a good one, everyone.